I'm Najaswat for BizNews.com, and joining me today is Dr. Pieter van Rooyen, who's a dental surgeon and the co-owner of Patheodent. Pieter, thank you so much for joining me.
Thanks for the invite, Nadia. Really nice to be here with you this afternoon, and let's see where we go.
It's going to be an interesting conversation, but before we get started, can you just give me a bit of your background?
Well, quite easy, isn't it? Normal South African boy from industrial town goes to study dentistry. Takes him forever to finish. Good student, good student. Started with BSc and then went on to do dentistry. And and I've been in private practice since 1990. Uh, Grew up, like I say, in an industrial town up country, and got caught by the ocean thing, so couldn't stay up there.
Mm-mm. Same. So you've expressed concern that your freedom as dentists is compromised by the third-party funder system that we have in South Africa. Can you explain to me what is unique about the medical scheme set up in South Africa, and how is this affecting your profession?
Yeah, an interesting question. In South Africa, we have a medical aid scheme, whereas in most countries, as far as I know, are insurance-based type things, and also national health and government-supported ways of treating people, uh, which is funded by a tax base and so forth. And as you know, we are also talking about a national health, which is a nice political play ball, which we'll miss today, I hope. And in South Africa, we've got a third-party funder scheme run by private business. And they're in the business for their business, not for our business. And it does make for some interesting chit chat. And then also they have a code system of their own. The rest of the world is on a thing called ICD-10 coding, but we happen to have the BHF, the Bureau of Healthcare Funders, and they've got their own coding system. So in your practice, apart from a huge admin burden to a practice, you have to report 2 codes for everything that you do. That has effect on your staff. It has effect on what it costs you to run your business, and it's just not necessary. You can run on an ICD-10 system like the rest of the world.
Mm.
In Cape Town, here where we practice, we see a lot of international people, and we generally only report ICD-10. Why should we report a second system? Purely to try and justify what you do.
Mm. Is there not any pushback for not following the required system?
Well, if you're not registered with the Bureau of Healthcare Funders, you will just not be paid. End of story. So in a practice like I am, and believe me, I've been on the other side before, so I understand the pains that approximately 80% of dentists are still going through today, and it's not easy. It's not easy to change because we're a small group of guys practicing in this country, and the third-party funder system is huge. I mean, you're up against insurance businesses, you're up against banks, you're up against people with a lot of clout and marketing, and also someone who pays monthly into that system believes that system. And here you come as a privateer and try to say, well, it doesn't work for me. So it gets a little bit difficult. It's not just to walk away, and I respect the difficulty that especially the younger practitioners go through. How do they start a business? How do you actually fund what you are doing? You've just spent 5 or 6 or maybe like some of us a bit more at university, and then and then you have to you pay back loans, and you have to start a business, and to start a one-man show today, if you really want to do the dentistry that is available and that we are all acquainted with nowadays, and that where the marketing push is coming from and the pressures that you are under to perform can cost you anything up to $4 million. Now, how do you repay that? It's very, very tough to do that. And my personal view is that this scalar benefits thing, which is a fee instituted by this third party system, which I say is fairly unique to us. That system almost forces you to be what we used to call in the old days contracted in. Nowadays, you don't talk so much about it, but it's still there. Still, are you contracted in? No, I'm not. Oh, no, sorry. Phone another practice. So it's difficult. It's difficult.
I looked at some graphs, and the amount paid out of the total sum paid out by medical schemes in South Africa to service providers, dentistry got 2%. This is less than a third of what you guys got in 2000. This seems off. Why the small fraction?
Well, again, like I say, it's a small group of people. It's easy to marginalize. It's easy to manipulate. And internationally, you have dental insurance. We don't have a dental insurance here. You have this benefit scheme, and it's easy to cut dentistry out. It's not. It's not. In my view, I don't think that the funders or the people that deal with this regard this as an essential thing. People can live. Humans are the only species, in fact, that can live without their teeth, by the way. But then, there's a horde of other problems that comes with that. So in terms of the 2%, I'm not the funder, but it's an easy target to cut out.
In the early 1990s, the golden age of dentistry, it was very different. What's happened between then and now?
I think before 1990, it was much different. In the 90s, it started changing dramatically. Incidentally, I started practicing in 1990, so it's a good time, to have a comparative time and tell you that in the good old days, someone had a 10,000 or a 15,000 rand benefit. You could do some work for them. You could do some real proper dentistry. And now, some of these guys have one consultation per year, and that at a rate that is determined by these third-party funders, and not by a rate that is actually the real cost to the practice with some profit at some end. None of us are in business not to make a living. That's what we do. We make our living this way. So without even being exorbitant, you just want to make a fair living. And in our practice, it's just not possible to do that. So you're asking me what changed. I don't know actually what changed from a funder's perspective, but I know what changed from my cost to company perspective. That I can tell you. I mean, in I think it was 2018. I read a report on 2018 where the dental inflation for that year in South Africa was 73%. Yet on January 1, I had to charge for code 8101, which is a consultation with us. I had a set fee according to the scale of benefits. If I was to supposedly contract it in, or I wanted to submit my claims directly, etc., then I would have had a scalar benefit fee, for argument's sake, 100 Rand, just to make up a number, and 73% in the meantime of inflation in the industry. And that, remember now, dentistry, there's virtually nothing manufactured locally. Everything's imported. It was a time where the Rand was volatile, all kinds of interesting things had an influence. So your cost to company became impossible. But on the 31st of December of that year, I still had to charge 100 Rand, which is, what do I do with that inflation in the middle? And there was a point where we weren't allowed to charge for the materials that we are using. So now, what do I do with the cost of materials that comes my way? You know, if you there's material from some countries which hasn't got a FDA approval, it hasn't got European stamps, etc. Yeah, sure, it's cheaper, but now that influences what I do in terms of quality. You see, so but I'm not allowed to recuperate that cost. There's this issue that medical aids are supposedly not profit-making or non-profit organizations. And it's a big question. It's a big question to me. Just back to what changed from 1990 to now. I'm sure you know that the schemes have consolidated quite a bit and the numbers are less and so on and so forth. And the managerial thing around it all has all been contracted to certain situations called medical aid administrators. So what has changed is that those medical aids in the 90s, we had a lot of the LAMAFs and the CAMAFs and the Cape Medical Plan and this and that and the other, which were related to a certain population group. And those are referred to as closed medical schemes. Now, if you have a closed scheme, you have a target group that you deal with, and you can do the demographics for that group, and you can finance and fund and do your risk management and all of those things on that side fairly easily because your group is fixed. But when you start coming to open schemes and these kind of things, then things start getting a little bit more difficult. Open scheme being something that everybody can belong to, no matter what your income group, no matter whatever you can afford, you belong to the scheme and off you go. It's one of the things that's changed is that the control group in terms of spending the money, in other words, the funders and the administrators, had a look at where their cost centers are, they had a look where their profit centers are, and that's the end of it. And they made a business out of it, albeit phenomenal money, incredible money, as you saw in some of the figures. And I mean, there's public knowledge, but people don't read those kind of things. But anyway, yeah. So I think that's what's changed. And that's why today you also find that practitioners just can't do it. The medical community, the general practitioner in medicine, has almost become obsolete. And why does he see 6 people? Why does he see 6 people in an hour? Has to. Can't make money if he does 5 people or 3 or 2 people and look properly after them. Can't do.
Do patients end up going to specialists for the very same procedures that you, as ordinary dentists, are able to do, but because only then will they be covered by medical aid?
Absolutely. It happens daily.
You're losing patients.
Well, like I say, in a practice like mine, we've been around long enough, and we have a group of guys that are well experienced and got a lot of expertise. So we can generally do just about anything in our practice. We're not maxillofacial surgeons, for instance, so I understand I'm not going to move the face around. But definitely all intraoral surgery I'll do myself. I don't have to send that to someone. Yet, if I have to take you to theatre tomorrow afternoon for your wisdom teeth, and by the way, which is my call, not an administrator's call. It's my call whether you go or not. Because I'm the oak that sees you clinically, and I'm the guy who understands what your requirements are, and also what the surgical requirements and risks are. I'm the person that understands that, not some arbitrary person working at a funder and then deciding for me, oh no, you're not allowed, you should do this in the chair. I would love that person to come and sit in the chair for one of these bone harvesting procedures when we do intricate implantology. And then still tell me that, no, don't need an anesthetic. Just local is fine. It's not fine because there are certain risks for me as a surgeon when you are awake. You swallow, your tongue is in the way, there's infection risk, there's all those kind of things that's not controlled. What if you cough? What if you verstik? What's the English word?
Choke.
When you choke, yeah. What if you swallow an instrument? Those are risks that I have to think about. And under an anesthetic, first and foremost, I have you controlled. I can do my surgery properly. Okay? And I don't have a tongue all the way there. There's no salivary problems, none of those things. It's all under control.
And it's
And
safer
to
for the
me,
patient.
absolutely. Okay, there is the anesthetic risk, but then that's the risk that I have to weigh up against all these different things that goes on. But the problem is that someone of good experience, a general practitioner, can do that job just as well as many other surgeons. Uh, there is the point of having to decide, listen, I just come out of varsity. I've been in practice for a year or so. If I listen to the classification of that particular procedure, maybe best for me to refer. Some people have ego problems with that, but then so they've got to take the risk that comes with that. But generally speaking, we are, in fact, my one colleague here in the practice is at the moment dealing with a case for tomorrow, where the funder says, no, it has to be done by a maxillofacial surgeon. Theo has been in practice for 35 years. He does whizzies in his sleep. We do it every Friday. So why are you saying no? And there's enough information around. There's tons and tons of information. These oaks know, when I say these oaks, medical aid administrators and medical aids and those, they have your claiming profile. They know exactly what you claim and what you don't claim. Better than what I know myself, because I don't keep record. I do. When I say I don't keep record, I have a record on my patients, but I don't go and sit down with a software that says, this year I did 25 crowns on that type of tooth, or this year I removed 67 wisdom teeth, or this year I placed 40 implants, whatever the case may be. I don't do that, but they have that. They do that. They profile you. And that's a good thing, because there are naughty boys in any business, and those boys should be weeded out. So in my group, in my little GP Star groupie, people that I like to talk to, and young dentists that I like to share and train and mentor and help and all that jazz. In that group, we want good people. We want honest people. We want people with honor. You remember that little Hippocratic oath? Did a webinar a while ago, and one of the oaths says, do the Hippocratic oath still count with Poppy Act and this and that and these and that? Hippocratic oath always counts. And it's got nothing to do with nobody else. It's you that took that oath.
Just clear up for me, what is the Hippocratic Oath? Is it first do no harm?
First do no harm. Primum non nocere. That's it. First do no harm. So when you make your call whether I could go to theatre or not, and I think it's within my ability, I go with that in mind. So the person on the third party does not tell me or cannot tell me, especially if it's an unqualified person. And then on top of it, tell me to send the x-ray. I don't have to send you an x-ray. I can make a diagnosis. You see? I know how to classify wisdom teeth. I know how to classify bone levels. I know how to classify caries. I know how to look at periodontal treatment. That's what I do. That's what I'm qualified at. Why should a financially qualified person tell me what I can and cannot do? I'm not telling accountants how to do books.
That's true. But so what do you suggest as a potential means to counter what's happened here so that dentists can have the freedom to do their jobs?
Yeah, that's an interesting one to talk about. Hey, well, if I take my little bit of Italian blood, I'd jump up and down and say, everybody strike for 3 months. Then see where the public starts getting their pain solved, and then get the public to put the pressure on. But that's not a feasible option. Okay, it's not going to work. Something like that doesn't work. What we need in this place is, you were talking about changes from 1990. In 1990, if you were a doctor or a dentist or whatever qualified person, you were a well-respected member of your community. Today, you're a bottom feeder. Nobody cares. Oh, doctor, well, who are you? Nobody cares anymore. People have got no more loyalty. You know that as well as I do. Oh, where am I going to get the best deal? That's what it's all about. People don't take care. And that's a complex social construct that's happening all around us. So for a small group of professionals to go and try and compete against these big guys is impossible. What we should do is hold hands within our group and say, listen, boys, we're going to take control of our own destiny here. And this is how we're going to do it. By that, I'm not talking about stuff like price fixing and we all charge exactly the same. That's not right. Because there's no ways that a guy that finished last year can command the same fees as I do after 30 years in practice. And the public should be aware of those things. They should respect that. And by that, I'm not saying the younger generation can't do it. But my dad used to say, show me where I can buy experience and I go there right now. You can't buy it. It comes with time. And you must, one thing with experience is you must also learn when to let go, right? So if Oak's 92 and he's still practicing, smile and wave. So it's all about realism and proper conduct. When it comes to that kind of thing, and we as a profession need to look inside to sort that out, because the discoveries of the world are not going to give a rat's backside. They're just going to continue. They're going to continue making money. They're going to continue siphoning billions of people, and that's the end of it. I'm not saying that at risk. It's there. Go and read it. It's there. The figures are there. I mean, those are frightening, staggering numbers.
A 2021 Discovery Health report showed that there was 2,044 million rand in reserves. What's the difference between reserves and profit?
You tell me. I don't know. If okay, number one is we know that medical schemes, not administrators, the medical scheme. Okay, medical scheme is supposed to be non-profit, and the medical scheme is supposed to have a certain reserve, which is burdened upon them by the government, which is understandable because you need to cover the costs that you are dealing with. You're taking people's money. There's a risk, type thing to this, that in this business model. So it's fair to say, listen, guys, you can't take on members and have nothing there. What do you do with their money? I understand that. And I'm not saying that's not fair. What I'm saying is not right is I personally don't understand the difference between growing your funds or your surplus or whatever you have, how growing that and profit. If I grow my value, then I'm surely making a profit, am I not? So maybe because I'm, totally financially inept, I don't understand those things. That's possible. But it's difficult. It's difficult to say, oh no, we grew our reserves by so much. Explain what it means. Explain what it means to the average Joe so that he knows where his money is going to. So that when he gets to my front door, he doesn't complain to me about that, because that's not my job. It's not for me to care what happened to your money. Not that I'm not caring. I'm a very caring professional. But it's these people have taken your money. I haven't. So why is it my issue of what they're going to pay, of what I'm worth? So yeah, you've grown your surplus. And to me, that means they've made money. You've made money. End of story.